This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Seth Merrow and Sully Crotty. Good morning, Sully.
Good morning, Seth. How are you?
Very good. Big day of racing yesterday.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to recapping some of that action. We'll do that, have a little handicapping as well. Frank Vespi from the Racing Biz will join us. As always, great coverage of Mid-Atlantic racing on the racingbiz.com. And Frank yesterday in that manner was down at Delaware Park for Delaware Oaks Day and some of the other stakes. We'll hit on those with him in a little while. But again, a great card of stakes action really across the country. We'll touch on the nice action at Belmont as well. Want to thank our friends at Woodbine for their sponsorship. Woodbine, Pick, Bet, and cheer on great racing north of the border. And again, I've done it both Friday and yesterday, but for folks who weren't tuned in, just want to take the chance once again to thank our friends up at Woodbine for their hospitality last weekend. Had a great time up there. So you got to make it up in the next trip or two because and they treat you really well up there. Queen's Plate weekend, a lot of fun. Festivities, a nice concert, Brad Paisley on Friday night, and nice crowd on Saturday for the Queen's Plate. And an intriguing winner, potentially for Saratoga, with Wonder Godot winning. And we had talked to Mark Cassie on Friday, and I said, if she should win, Triple Crown, or I know Alabama's probably out there. And he said, yeah, Alabama. But right after the race, he said, a good prep for the Alabama might be that second jewel of the Triple Crown at Fort Erie. And I was talking with people Saturday night, and we were kind of speculating, if she wins the second jewel of the Triple Crown, does she try for the Grade 1 Alabama, which looks great on the resume, or is the filly to win the Canadian Triple Crown?
That's just, I feel like it's a win-win for Mark Cassie and Morning Godot. So, I mean, obviously, the owners, they love Saratoga, they love Naira, so obviously it'd be great to see her in Alabama at the Alabama. But if you're 2 for 2 in the Canadian Triple Crown, I feel like you kind of have to finish it out.
It's going to be a tough call for them, but it'll be interesting to see which direction they do go. She looked great last weekend, and again, thanks to our friends up at Woodbine. Also want to touch on some of the promos and events. We start our Saratoga backstretch programming next Friday. This afternoon, the equipment will be pulled out. No OTB Live this afternoon because after this show, we will start our move up there. We also already have our broadcast trailer up there, and we'll fill it up with our equipment starting this afternoon. And coming on Friday, we kick off on the backstretch with the live programming that will continue throughout the Saratoga meet. Saratoga opening day on the 20th. Again, we start the programming next Friday, the 13th. And Saratoga opening day the 20th. Opening day at Del Mar is the 18th. So a lot of good action for all our Capital OTB customers. But Sully, you and I up at Saratoga live a day early. Next Thursday, we'll be up at the harness track again. That was really fun a couple of weeks ago. We'll have another $100 bankroll. Find out how you can get your chance to participate in that bankroll by going to capitalotb.com. But it'll be fun heading up the Northway on Thursday for a little early Saratoga action on the harness side.
Yeah, they treated us so well a couple weeks ago. Really excited to go back there, and it's just always exciting stuff when one, we could be in Saratoga doing live shows, and two, all of our equipment here in the studio is going to be up north. So it's a very exciting time of year, and definitely looking forward to our next podcast at the harness track.
Had a fun time up there a couple of weeks ago. A lot of people came up and said hello. We're located, got to have a table right down the front row of the grandstand. So if you come up or make a point to come up and join us on that Thursday afternoon, next Thursday, and come down and say hello to us during the afternoon. Also next Saturday, the Road to the Vegas contest continues. jump on in, get your chance to get sent out to Vegas early next year for the big handicapping contest by participating in ours. There's a monthly contest, and this month's goes next Saturday, July 14th. More information at the website, capitalotb.com. All right, let's jump in with some of that stakes action that we alluded to a little bit earlier, and let's go with the highlight of the day. And Dave Grenig said it. It was kind of funny. Dave Grenig, in his column in the Daily Racing Forum, says, the sequel rarely lives up to the original, but it did yesterday in the Belmont Derby. I'm assuming I had analyzed it on top over Catholic Boy off of that wacky Pennine Ridge. I was still kind of willing to think that was such a screwy kind of a situation with Analyze It going by and looking to have the race won, and then Catholic Boy coming back nicely. And so for me, I went with Analyze It over Catholic Boy. I'm assuming you stuck with one of those two in the stakes preview.
I went with Catholic Boy.
Man,
I'm always a big fan of Catholic Boy. So
it was one or the other, and
right.
you were hoping that it was going to be a good duel, and that's exactly the way it turned out. As it was kind of a replay with Catholic Boy, the number 7 horse, getting passed by Analyze It, the number 3 horse. And once again, and you read the post-race comments, all the connections once again thought, oh, Analyze It is going to win, Catholic Boy is going to be second. And what a gutty performance from Catholic Boy to gut it out and win by a head, come back on Analyze It. Hunting Horn, the European horse with Brian Moore, good third, but no match for the top two. Look at this big dog battle. I mean, that is gorgeous at 1.25 miles, and they go in 1:59 and change. You talk about you went with Catholic Boy. And as I said at the top, I think most handicappers looked at that Pennine Ridge and felt like it was either Analyze It or Catholic Boy. You got decent odds on Analyze It at 2-1. But the 5-1 Catholic, I mean, that was just, $12 and change on that horse was kind of crazy. On a horse that, given what we saw in the Pennine Ridge and earlier on the turf in the career, he's turf or dirt, but given what we saw on the Pennine Ridge, this horse, I think, is a potential star on the grass, and now exclamation point put on that thought yesterday with the nice gutsy performance as well. So you get 5-1. That was just crazy on that. I guess it shows the strength of the field, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you'll never get 5-1 on Catholic Boy again. He was 4-1 in the Pennine Ridge, and Catholic Boy just doesn't like anyone going by him. And we saw that last time out. We saw it yesterday as well, and Analyze It completely put away Catholic Boy on the top of the stretch. Halfway through the stretch, you thought, like you said, Analyze It was gone, and then Catholic Boy just came back again, which was awesome to see. So hopefully we get another one of those battles up in Saratoga this summer, and then it's always going to be fun to see. And that field really was nice, and my boy Jack returning to the turf really was not a factor. I'd like to see him get another start on the grass. And Hunting Horn ran well, as you said, with Ryan Moore. So that was a really nice race, and hawkish as well. I thought he, on paper did not look like a great race, but he had a nice trip overall and just really could not get it done. So that really was a nice field.
Yeah, those are my top 3. I just, again, the top 2 I had switched. I thought Hunting Horn would run well. He went off as the 2-1 second choice. So, again, I guess it's Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore. They attracted some attention. That allowed Catholic Boy to escape a little bit at the price. So if you like Catholic Boy, again, you got paid nicely. But it's also interesting to note when you look at the past performances and then look at the chart from yesterday's race, they got bold in the Pennine Ridge and kind of realized that with Analyze It having early speed, they would have to go out and kind of try to make things happen. Castellano did that in the Pennine Ridge, and then they did it again yesterday. They went out and took control right from the start, which is different than earlier in the career. And so they've now made you don't see that too often, horses that don't have that front-running style, 6 or 7 races in the career, kind of turn it around, and then put 2, a flukish kind of performance where they fall on the lead or maybe get a little bit aggressive, but a couple of races like that in a row now. It'll be interesting to see what the running style of Catholic Boy is going forward. It's also going to be interesting to see where they go, because the Grenig article points out, given what we've seen, turf and dirt from Catholic Boy, Grenig mentions the Grade 1 Secretariat out at Arlington, and he also mentions the Travers. To me, I would find it hard to believe they would give up the turf at this point. I think they're just kind of sitting on the top of that 3-year-old turf subdivision at this point. But, you know, with the horse that has the kind of talent this one has, it's also tempting to look out at, you know, big money like the Travers and maybe take your shot again on the dirt. But to me, probably the Secretariat is more likely.
I agree. I think you got to leave the horse on the grass at this point, and just the way he's been running the last 2 starts and earlier in the career on the grass, the horse looked phenomenal. And it is nice when you can place a horse on a really nice turf race, and you know, if you're not feeling that turf race, you always have the Travers in your back pocket, so that's always nice to have for an owner, and just shows how talented Catholic Boy is. But you know, I would stay on the grass, and then later on in the racing season, I would try the dirt again because he ran well on the dirt.
The possibility sits there, I suppose, because I think the Secretariat's on August 11th. Maybe take that one and then go for the Penn Derby.
Right.
Go to, and that's some big money as well. And you could go back to the dirt and take your shot there. But as I say, it wouldn't shock me if they just stayed turf at this point. I mean, I think they have a budding turf superstar, but it's nice to have those options.
It definitely is nice to have those options, but I agree. I think you got to stay on the grass.
All right, one more before we go to a break. One more really spectacular performance yesterday at Belmont. The Suburban, a Grade 2, $700,000, a mile and a quarter, which starts on the turn at Belmont. The favorite was Tapwrit. I liked Tapwrit. I put that one underneath. I put Opportunity on top for Bob Baffert coming out of that nice win in the Brooklyn. Opportunity went off as the second choice at 3-1. War Story, the third choice, also at 3-1. Actually, War Story was 7-2. War Story runs last in the field. Dr. Door runs 9th next to last. So there were a couple of horses in there that didn't run well, but running well, the number 10, Diversify. We'll watch Diversify here, who went out and, as he normally does, went to the lead. These are pretty legitimate fractions, too. 23 and change, 46 and change, 109 and change. And trainer Rick Violet says he looked at some of those early fractions and kind of was, got a little bit nervous, as anybody would if you had bet on the horse as well. But he turns for home, and this is a pretty solid field. He turns for home and kind of runs away from these horses. The chart margin is 6.5. Went off at 6-1, so again, another nice price. The have to justify the Lieutenant runs second, Discreet Lover third, Opportunity fourth, Tapwrit fifth. So again, pretty strong field. But out of the likely candidates, Diversify was the only one that came with his A game, and it was an A+ game.
It definitely was. And I was watching the race, and I was just like you. Those fractions were very quick. They were serious fractions on especially that type of race, and it's a very interesting race, that mile and a quarter at Belmont. And he just loves Belmont Park. The horse is now 6 for 8 at Belmont. It was 5 for 7 going into that race. So, and you know, just that was an unbelievable performance to keep, just to hold everybody off. Number one, and blow them out by 6.5 at the end with those types of fractions. That was I think that was a better, I'm not going to say better than Catholic Boy, because that was a great performance as well, but that was really an impressive performance there. And really nice ride by Gerardo Ortiz. And honestly, going into the race, I thought Lieutenant, I never thought would run second, but I thought could complete Superfectus there. The half-brother of Justify and John Velasquez. You're getting a nice price there, and that's a nice triple. If you really thought you could beat Opportunity, he would run out of the money. And Tapwrit, I thought would be much more improved off that second race off the Travers from last year, you know, and so if you can get that triple home with that horse, for a horse that's 5 for 7 at Belmont going into that race, you really scored well.
That was a tough call, though. To leave both Opportunity and Tapwrit out of your mix would have been tough, I think. But they were on 4th and 5th. The Lieutenant at 34-1, though, does complete, $164 exacta for $1 underneath Diversify. Diversify, again, like Catholic Boy, Turf or Dirt, Diversify has some options. Being a New York bred, he can go to the New York bred stakes or open. Rick Violet said, going to look at the Whitney. I mean, it's obvious you stay in the open company as long as you're doing well. But it's nice to see him get back on track, because he had that good run last summer into that big win in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, then the 4th in the Clark. And the comeback this year, the Charlestown Classic, was just a complete dud. But it looks like Rick Violet was right. That Charlestown track, because of the size of it, the Charlestown Classic is 3 turns. And Rick Violet said the horse is kind of smart. He's used to no more than 2 turns, so he went 2 turns and just kind of stopped running in the Charlestown Classic. And it kind of looks like that may have been the case because he came back in a little confidence builder in the State-Bred Commentator Stakes and won that, and then wins the Suburban yesterday.
Yeah, both were down in New York. So the one thing I thought Dr. Door, I saw the price on the horse. I thought Dr. Door was a little bit too low for me to take anywhere near there. He did run well last time out, but I thought the 1.25 miles was just a little bit too far for him. And as you said, he ran second to last that day with horse.
I have him in the mix. Just you got to pay attention. It's Baffert.
Yeah.
And they also opted for here as opposed to they were entering Prairie Meadows too. So that kind of caught my attention as well. But he did not foyer at all. All right, we'll head to a break. When we come back, we'll shift our attention to Delaware Park. Frank Vespi was at Delaware yesterday. We'll get some first-hand thoughts on some of the stakes action on Delaware Oaks Day right after this. Stay tuned.
Dirty windows? Don't do it yourself. Call Clean Image, your window cleaning professionals, and enhance the look of your business or home without the worry. Clean Image pledges nothing less than 100% customer satisfaction. It's guaranteed. Homes, offices, bed and breakfast, vacation homes, and more. Clean Image has cleaned them all. Carpet and floor cleaning, pressure washing, and janitorial services are also available. Call today, 446-1397. That's 446-1397. Online at clean-image.net.
You know and make better decisions, better choices, to know how to connect the dots. In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool, but not the only tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. These too are important tools, and you'll find them all right here at Capital OTB. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
I'm Brian Natto. Join me for my new show, Saturdays at the Spa, on OTB TV. I'll be live on the backstretch talking to some of the top trainers, jockeys, and racing personalities here in Saratoga. So join me right here at 10 a.m. each and every Saturday during the Saratoga meet on the OTB TV network.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Seth Merrow and Sully Crotty in the studio, joined by phone by Frank Vespi from the RacingBiz.com. We always say if you want to follow racing in the Mid-Atlantic region, no better place to do it than the RacingBiz.com. And part of that coverage yesterday, Delaware Park for Delaware Oaks. Frank was on site. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, guys. Good to be with you.
Give us a little setup before we talk about the races in particular. I talked to Chris Sobocinski yesterday in the morning. He said it was a great day weather-wise. Set us up. How'd the weather turn out? How was the crowd on Delaware Oaks Day?
Oh, well, the weather just, it could not have been any nicer than it was. Just absolutely gorgeous, which I think you guys have had the same thing we have. It's just been oppressively hot and humid here for weeks, it seems like. So to get a day like that was really, really kind of a gift. So that was really nice. And there's an interesting thing going on here at Delaware. They have sports betting now, and so you park in the parking lot, and where I used to park in the front row all the time, now I'm off in the exurb somewhere because the crowd is so much bigger, and it's you kind of look around and you go into the racing areas, and it's all us old guys hanging around, and then you go in the sports betting, and it's a much younger crowd, and so it's kind of neat to see all that. But it was a nice crowd out for the racing as well. And in fact, a guy who was in the sports betting area came up to me at the end of the day, and he said, "Man, this place really emptied out after the horse races were over." And I kind of said, "Well, it is a racetrack, but so it was nice to see a good crowd out, and just a perfect day for racing." the stakes were either really exciting, finishes on the wire, or just amazing performances. So it really was a nice day for Delaware.
And just before we talk about the races, I want to get back to that sports book, because you were there firsthand, and I don't know whether you could get a sense just from being there that afternoon, but I talked to the folks at Monmouth a couple of weeks ago after they opened up, really right after they opened up their sports book, so it was hard for them to get a sense also. But I said that day, I think as opposed to slot machines, a sports book has the more potential for crossover amongst fans. I think more people are going to be geared into maybe walking out of the sports book and kind of trying the horse races a little bit. Did you get any sense of that yesterday?
Well, I think your surmise makes a lot of sense, in that, if you're sports betting, you're already a sports person, and so horse racing's another sport, so you might as well bet on that. I actually spoke with some folks from Delaware yesterday while I was up there about this, and they're not sure yet whether there's going to be crossover, and they're still trying to figure out exactly how to arrange everything to maximize the opportunity for crossover. And so what they've basically done right now is turn the third floor of the clubhouse, which used to be just another simulcast area, into a sports betting area. And so the good news is it's really, it's right by the windows out to the track, so it's really easy to just walk out and watch a race if you want to do that. And they do have some racing on the sort of bank of TVs, but it's not clear yet how much crossover is taking place. And I think, one of the guys said to me that they were happy that this started when it started in June, because it gives them some time to kind of get some things figured out before we get to football season, when it's going to get to be really hairy in there.
Well, I think at least it's a positive that they're thinking in that direction, how to maximize that crossover. So that's a positive at least. But yeah, we will have to see, certainly in New Jersey and Delaware, and as other states jump on board, and keep our fingers crossed that it benefits racing in bigger and better ways than maybe just enhanced purse money. But let's get to the races yesterday at Delaware, and let's start out with the highlight, the Delaware Oaks Grade 3 event, $300,000, mile and a 16th for, as the name indicates, 3-year-old fillies. Up here, we were rooting for our friend Roddy Valente with Coach Rocks, coming in out of a nice second in the Black Eyed Susan. Ran second behind Red Ruby. And Red Ruby is clearly an up-and-coming 3-year-old filly. The win in the Black Eyed Susan, solid. And then yesterday, another solid performance. So with only 6 career starts and now 4 wins, Red Ruby becomes pretty solid player in this division, obviously with everybody chasing Monomoy Girl. But Frank, we're watching the stretch run here. It is number 9, Red Ruby. Chart margin of 13 lengths. So again, puts in another nice performance. Our friend Roddy Valente and Coach Rocks, the number 8 horse, a pretty clear second. Most Shopping third. Blue Union Rags runs fourth. But again, we're watching the horse come under the wire. This was just a bravado performance by Red Ruby.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a tour de force, and it's before the race in the paddock, Kellen Gorder, who is the trainer, was they get the horses, they get the jocks mounted, and then they kind of walk them once more around the paddock at Delaware, and Kellen Gorder was following her and taking video of her on his iPad. And I asked him, after the race, I asked him what he was doing, and he said to me, "It's just a keepsake. She's special, and they don't come around like this too often. So I want to have keepsakes of her." And so it was kind of a neat moment there. And she's just really good right now, and it seems to be getting better. I think you're going to get a chance to see that, or at least she's going to get a good test. They're pointing her to the Alabama next, and Gorder told me he thinks the farther the better for her, and certainly she ran like that yesterday in the Delaware Oaks. And it was interesting. She broke very fast. I would have assumed Coach Rocks was going to get the lead, but she actually outbroke Coach Rocks and was stalking the pace of a long shot early on. And then whenever Paco Lopez wanted to go on her, she went. And she seemed a little keen early, but that obviously wasn't an issue. And he kind of took her out to the middle of the track because he felt like that was the best area of the track. And in the lane, she just kind of kept drifting wider and wider and wider. We started to wonder if she was going to just come over the fence on her way out. But just a really, really impressive performance by a horse who really is moving in the right direction. And, you know, it adds a little bit of spice to that division.
And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, because I said after the last victory by Monomoy Girl, I said, you know, with the Kentucky Oaks and the Acorn, it just seems like she had an eclipse sewn up already. But I'll throw out now Midnight Bishu, Wonder Godot, and now Red Ruby. You know, in the second half of the season, if one or a couple of those horses can get a victory over Monomoy Girl, perhaps, I think at the end of the season becomes maybe a little more interesting than I was giving it credit for about a month ago.
I think that's exactly right, and you know, we all do that. We all have this tendency to jump on and this one's too good, or that one's got the whatever award sewn up. But you know, particularly with these younger horses, these 3-year-olds, they kind of develop at different times. I mean, this was a filly that they wanted to run her in the Kentucky Oaks, and she had a little bit of I can't remember exactly, I think she banged her head or something and had a little bit of an injury, so they had to pass on that. And you know, so that set her back a little bit. But clearly where she is now, you know, maybe waiting just a little bit turns out to be the right thing, because, you know, she had beaten Cotrox by 4 lengths in the Black Eyed Susan. She beats her by 13 yesterday, and, you know, pretty much could have named the margin if you know, midway on the turn, Coach Rocks was under a full-on drive, and Paco Lopez on Red Ruby's kind of looking around going, is anybody coming, anybody? And so, you know, you're right. This division could end up being a lot more interesting than it appeared to be maybe 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, the top 4 are starting to look very intriguing as we get into the summertime racing. All right, let's go a little earlier on the card. The R.G. Dick Memorial Grade 3 event, a couple $100,000 up for grabs, 1 3/8 on the turf. I really like creative thinking. I thought coming out of the Keeneland and Churchill races, including the stakes win at Churchill last time, the Tommy Proctor runner was going to be in a good spot here, and creative thinking does go off as the 8-5 favorite, but disappoints running 5th in this race. Creative thinking is the number 8 horse. Winner turns out to be number 7, Tricky Escape at 4-1. Nice run to get up by a chart margin of 1.5 lengths. Giovanna Blues runs second at 20-1, the 9, and Palinodi, another horse I thought fit in the mix, runs third in here. But a pretty nice run from Tricky Escape, a horse that I have to admit, you looked at, and certainly there were some back numbers. Had to get back to those. I didn't use it because the more recent races weren't super intriguing. But boy, got back to those back numbers yesterday. That was a pretty nice run.
Yeah, it sure was. You know, I think, Seth, you and I should probably compare handicapping notes before each day, and if we both like a horse, we should probably just toss him and be done with it. Because I was with you. I really like creative thinking in that spot, although I hated the odds that she went off at. But Tricky Escape is kind of an interesting horse. It's Lynn Ashby's the trainer. She's really better known, I'd say, for her work with Arabians, but this horse now, Tricky Escape, has won 3 Grade 3 races. I mean, she's not bad. And yesterday, I think if you look at her form, her 2 prior races, she's just been kind of slow out of the gate, never really got engaged, and that kind of left her with a lot to do. But yesterday, she was a little bit closer, a little bit more involved in the early going, you know, kind of mid-pack rather than the rear of the pack, and really fired on nicely. You know, she kind of got through along the inside around the 3rd turn and then tipped out kind of 3 wide between horses and just exploded through the lane. Really a nice finish. I mean, she got that last 1/8 of a mile in 11-2, which is moving out at the end of a mile 3/8. So they actually didn't miss the track record by much. They went 2:12-4, 2:12-2 is the track record at the distance. So a pretty good effort for her. Then they're also talking about the possibility of Saratoga for her next start. So that could be interesting to see if she shows up there. But this is clearly a horse. Lynn Ashby's having a lot of fun with this horse, and people at Delaware were happy to see kind of the home team get one yesterday.
Yeah, and it, certainly that performance yesterday gives the impression that she's going to fit very nicely if they do decide to come up to Saratoga. And Frank, wanted to touch on one more stake before we let you go, because you are based in Maryland, and so you've seen this horse plenty of times in the past. Dionysius in the Cape Henlopen yesterday. This is an ungraded stake, $75,000, a mile and a half. And I said, I did the handicapping show yesterday, and I was looking at Delaware throughout the afternoon. And I said, this is a horse that early in the career had some nice 2-year-old form, certainly had some promise in the 3-year-old season, but now has come back as a 4-year-old, and they've tried the turf. And with the win yesterday, 3 for 3 on the turf. And they've all been kind of gutsy and improving performances. And this horse, Dionysius, the number 10, takes the lead late and has to hold off a late charge. I don't know whether there was any real nail biting. I suppose there was a possibility, but I never really felt the runner-up was going to get there. Number 5, Vintage Matters. Number 9, Utmost, runs third. But as I say, now 3 for 3, and the nice win at a mile and a half yesterday. The last win was at a mile and a 16th. The Pimlico win back in May on the turf, also at a mile and a 16th. This is a really nice horse already before the turf starts, but now on turf, undefeated. And it seems like they have some options. Wouldn't surprise me if maybe a Saratoga trip was in his future as well, although I think there are probably some turf races in the home base in Maryland that could be attractive also.
Well, actually, this is a race that Eddie Graham used to prep to win the Arlington Million a few years ago at Hardest Court.
Yeah.
So there's certainly options. I don't know if they're going to do that. This is, I got to say, though, this was a giant performance for Dionysius. I mean, he was keen to go early. He was pressing the pace right from the start. And it was a legit pace. I mean, they went 11-3 for the first 3/4 of a mile. He moved past that horse. They got the last quarter. This is a mile and a half race in 23-1. I mean, this was a super impressive performance. It's a track record performance for a mile and a half on the turf, and the turf was playing fast. There's no question, but this was a huge effort from this horse, and certainly they're going to have some options going forward. It was also, Seth, as you and I talked about earlier, Alex Cintron, the jockey, he was in a bad injury. He was off for a long time. He's finally come back, and this was his first stakes win back. So it was a nice win for him. He was really excited, and he's a really good rider. That I think we're going to be hearing a lot more from him as he kind of gets back into it now. I was dazzled by the effort of this horse. This was a really good effort by this horse.
And as you say, use this one as a prep for the Arlington Million. I pulled it up as you were talking. It was just, 4 years ago. So who knows? Because it was a pretty good-looking performance. I'll be interested to see where they do go next. I was wondering in these situations if they now think, what were we doing on the dirt all that time?
I think, you're kind of right about that. I mean, this horse was okay on the dirt for sure. And I won a minor stake or two, at 2 in early part of 3-year-old season, but clearly has taken a step forward on the turf. And, some of it, as you know, is horses, kind of their preferences change over time. And, when you've got a 2 or 3-year-old, you kind of have to do dirt if you can do dirt. So, you can't really fault how they've handled him, but clearly, this guy's getting kind of a second lease on life now that they put him on the turf, and as you said, he's undefeated on the turf. It's won from a mile and 16th to a mile and a half now, which opens up all sorts of options for you. And, they can have a lot of fun with this horse. I think they've got to be ecstatic with the way he ran yesterday and the kind of guts he showed in doing it, the stamina and all sorts of things. So I think they've got to be really excited. I mean, this is a horse that now you can do kind of almost anything with him if you want.
Yeah, it'd be fun to see where they go next, certainly. And fun to see where you go next also, Frank, because I'm sure there's a lot of coverage from Delaware and the stakes races yesterday at theracingbiz.com. In fact, I know there is because I went and looked earlier today. But you're right back next Saturday as well, right?
Yeah, we've got the Delaware Handicap next Saturday, so going to be there. Always excited. That's really a fun day, and it's a fun race. And I excited to see who shows up for that this year. Usually the best distaff runner in the country shows up for that race, so it'll be exciting to see if that happens again this year. And so that's always a nice day. So that's the next stop for me. It'll be a Delaware Handicap next week, and there's a Saratoga visit in the future, so looking forward to that. So always excited to make the rounds here all over the Mid-Atlantic and elsewhere.
And again, folks can check out the racingbiz.com. A lot of great racing news about that racing in the Mid-Atlantic region. Frank, appreciate the visit, and if we don't talk in the meantime, we'll see you at Saratoga.
All right, sounds good, Seth. Thanks so much.
Frank Vespi from theracingbiz.com. Again, highly recommended just to follow racing in the Mid-Atlantic region on a regular basis. All right, let's jump back in with the nice stakes action at Belmont yesterday. The Belmont Oaks was a little earlier on the card. Belmont Derby Invitational for the 3-year-old boys. Belmont Oaks for, as the name might suggest, the 3-year-old girls. And I've used Capla Temptress on top. I took a shot with one of the Euros that I thought was interesting. Capla Temptress kind of disappointing, 7th in the field of 10. But maybe I had the right idea, just the wrong Euro. Athena, shame on me for leaving out Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore, particularly at 10-1. Athena gets it done for the very potent trainer jockey connections from Europe. The Way I Am, who I said yesterday was a horse that I had left out of my mix, but boy, was kind of sitting in the catbird seat at the head of this subdivision earlier this year after the Gulfstream meet. The Way I Am, the number 8 horse, runs second, and then running third was Chipolata at 30. So it was 10-1, 11-1, 36-1. The favorite, significant form, the 3-1 favorite for Chad Brown, who I used in the second slot under Capla Temptress, runs 4th in here. So really the logical players, the top 4 choices run 4th and 5th, 9th and 10th, and we get some bombs up on top. Athena paying $22. The Way I Am, again at 11-1 and 36-1, running third. We had a 50-cent trifecta worth $1,200. So congratulations to those folks that had it.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal triple for 50 cents, obviously. But as you alerted to a little bit earlier, this is The Way I Am. I thought ran a really nice race. I thought had the potential to run a big race at 11-1, and just Athena, Ryan Moore, and Aidan O'Brien. They took a shot earlier in the card, did not go too well. With Mendelssohn there, but that horse looked unbelievable, and I think the layoff that horse was on about 6 days and flying over to the United States to run that and ran that way, that was really impressive. So I'm really interested to see where they want to go with this horse, and look out for The Way I Am the next time out too. I don't think you're going to get 11-1, but you should get a pretty nice price, around 5 or 6-1, especially. So, and I thought Mighty Scarlet, I thought that horse could be a little sneaky, ran 5th there. I didn't think it was a bad trip. It's just Athena and obviously The Way I Am just ran a little bit better that day. So that was a really nice betting race. Whenever you get a favorite going off at 3-1, you got potential to make some money. And then you get Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore going off at almost 11-1, a $22 horse. You don't see that very often.
Yeah, and you made the great point. The odds on The Way I Am. I mean, this is a horse that, as I say, earlier this season after the Gulfstream meet, kind of was at the top of this division. But with Rushing Fall and horses like God Stormy, who beat this one in the Penn Oaks, running well now, it's a little more convoluted up at the top of this subdivision. But The Way I Am, 3 wins and a couple of seconds in the last 5 starts. The Penn Oaks, a close-up second-place finish last time, so 11-1. I think 11-1 just showed how strong the field was, because I think you could make pretty good cases for quite a few of them in here. Toinette was also a disappointment, 7-2 second choice, ends up 9th in the field of 10 for Neil Drysdale. And I just want to reiterate, I'm glad you made the point also, we can't let it go by, that, Athena, July 1st, she ran at the Curragh in Ireland in a Group 1 and ran 3rd that day. So comes back not just less than a week, but less than a week in Ireland, and comes over and wins over here for $1 million, Ryan Moore and Aidan O'Brien. Just when you think about that, when you think about horses, I like horses that come back and turn around quickly, but at the Grade 1, Group 1 level, it's a little bit different, and it's also a little bit different when it's Ireland to New York.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree with you there. I like horses that are quick off the layoff running again.
I think it shows confidence.
It does, and we had an example of that at Saratoga last year with Linda and Voodoo Song. But
yeah.
they were staying right in Saratoga. They didn't fly across to a different country after a 6-day layoff. So that was just a really nice performance.
All the more impressive. Belmont Sprint Championship also yesterday. I liked Whitmore. I talked with Andy Serling, and I said I had Limousine Liberal in the 4th spot. I had Whitmore over favorable outcome, over Shaft of Light, over Limousine Liberal. And I said to Andy, for one reason or another, and as horse players, we always get it stuck. I just have not been a fan of Limousine Liberal. This was a horse that had been first or second 14 of 22 times, so it wasn't the talent. It was just one of those horses that I wasn't that thrilled with. On the other hand, I really like Whitmore, so I used Whitmore, but I realized I just could have been on the wrong side of not liking Limousine Liberal. And coming down the stretch, I thought I had made the right call, but I realized that it was going to be tight with Limousine Liberal, the one I put down in the 4th spot. Whitmore, the number 2 horse, gets the lead and looks pretty good, but number 1 Limousine Liberal is coming. I thought I was going to hold. Whitmore was kind of gutsy, and then a couple strides from the wire, a nice surge by Limousine Liberal. So, I'll take the hit there that I left that one down at the bottom of my mix. But, boy, this, again, now 15 for 23 in the exacta, 9 wins in 23 starts. Had well over $1 million already, so this horse is on the way to a couple of $1 million. This is a nice stakes quality sprinter, and maybe I just have to change my mind about this one.
Right, and I'm a huge fan of Limousine Liberal, and I have been since the last year's Churchill Downs, and the horse won that race this year as well. Yeah. So back-to-back champion there.
And it was a nice run in the Met Mile, and probably the step back to 7 furlongs was going to be beneficial.
Right, and as I just said, the Met Mile, that was an unbelievable field at a mile, and then he's going to go back to a distance he's very comfortable with. And that was just an interesting stretch run because a lot of people thought Whitmore should have came down for bumping in the Shaft of Light, who finished last in that race, just tried to squeeze up the rail, bumped in. But
I could have gone either way on that one because
I agree.
I think the hole was there, and he got there, and then the horse kind of came in and bumped in. I will say this. I think if we had switched jockeys and I'd gotten a ride not aiming for that little squeeze of a hole, I might have gotten the win on Whitmore. Because I think without that bumping, he might be the best horse.
I agree with you there. And, another reason why I think they kept the horse up, Shaft of Light really was going backwards at that point. There was nothing left there. So I don't really think it changed the outcome for Shaft of Light. But I agree. I think if Limousine Liberal had to try to fit up there and Whitmore was outside a little bit more, just switching, Whitmore would probably win that race.
Because that was definitely a stop of momentum. And it's one of those that in any kind of a sport, you see it all the time. Football, basketball, the coach makes a decision or there's a playmate or whatever. And it's the kind of thing, if you make it and it works out, you're a genius. And if you don't, you are justifiably looked at as making a bad decision. I think, given that it didn't work out, bad decision. Because, again, it kind of stopped momentum, and then he had to shift and come out and, gets pipped by that much. But it was a nice performance by both of them, and we'll see where they go next because these are clearly top-quality sprinters, and there are possibilities up at Saratoga for those kind, and we'll see if they show up there. And speaking of Saratoga, I know Frenzied Fire going to look towards the Allen Jerkins, going to stick with one turn now, it looks like. And this was another really good performance. And again, I had Andy Serling on yesterday, and he was chiding me. I left Mendelssohn right out of my mix. And I realized he has the potential to run away and hide from the group. But to me, he's just one of those all-or-nothing kind of horses. I mean, coming into yesterday, Mendelssohn had 4 wins and 8 starts, and another 3 were absolute duds. So he's kind of feast or famine, and I just took the shot against Mendelssohn yesterday, and as I say, when I had Serling on, he kind of chided me for that. I think the kind of dull third-place finish vindicated me a little bit there. Mendelssohn And Noble Indy, now I say I'm vindicated on Mendelssohn. Noble Indy was my top pick. He was horrible. He was kind of dueling with Mendelssohn early, and Noble Indy just tossed out the anchor and winds up 7th in the field of 7. But Frenzied Fire, the number 7, wow, wins by a chart margin of 9. 7 Trumpets, the nice West Point horse, gets up to run 2nd, just getting past Mendelssohn. Mendelssohn runs 3rd. But again, and we talked a little bit about it with Dionysius and being on the dirt. You have a nice 3-year-old, you're tempted and you try the Derby Trail, and this horse showed enough, winning the Champagne last year, Frenzied Fire, that they had to kind of take their shot. They did, and Jason Service kind of admitted, we had Derby fever and we got that out of our system. We tried it, and now we kind of know where we're best, where our talent is. So they go back to the 1-turn mile, and just that was a phenomenal performance yesterday. And again, they're looking to that sprint up at Saratoga.
You already alluded to it a little bit. Frenzied Fire, I said it going into the Derby after seeing that horse run in the wood. I knew that horse was just a 1-turn horse. The 2-turn was definitely a question mark, and why not? If you're eligible for the Kentucky Derby, why not run in it? So I don't blame the connections there. But the 1-turn is definitely the place for Frenzied Fire, and it was blowing up on Twitter a little bit yesterday. The horse was 5-1 when they were walking in the gate, and the gate's open. He goes up 5-2. So a lot of people got to be upset if they bet that horse. They were getting a really nice price, but still, you got a $7 horse, and you beat Mendelssohn. And I thought 7 Trumpets would run a huge race, and he did. He ran 2nd. Very nice. Easily was 2nd best that day. Not a great start, but made up for it. Was sitting 4th the entire way. I thought ran an okay race, but Frenzied Fire definitely was the best horse in that race.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, great racing yesterday, but some good racing today as well, and we'll try to give you some ideas as far as handicapping for Sunday afternoon right after this. Stay tuned.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, OTB TV is the Capital Region's choice for the most comprehensive and informative coverage of thoroughbred and harness racing. OTB TV is the only area network delivering a steady viewership, reaching more than 540,000 households throughout the broadcast day and into the evening. Capital OTB's digital presence also plays a tremendous part in getting your message in front of potential customers. With more and more wagering moving to online, CapitalOTB.com can put your message in front of thousands of potential customers 24 hours a day. And with the addition of our new mobile app, new customers will see your message on all their digital devices. To see how affordably you can reach thousands of new customers, contact Capital OTB's Sales and Marketing Department today.
You're unbelievable. Are your favorite tracks in Florida, but you're in upstate New York? With Capital OTB, Tampa Bay Downs and Gulfstream Park are closer than you think. With more than 60 easy bet and branch locations throughout the region, you're just a short drive from all the top tracks across the country and around the world. For a complete list of all easy bet and branch locations, visit CapitalOTB.com.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Seth Merrow and Sully Crotty in here on this Sunday morning, Sunday, July 8th. Hard to believe it's July 8th already. We have to squeeze in as much summer as we can before the Saratoga meet starts, because it's a lot of fun, and that's almost a vacation at work, so to speak. But it is a lot of work and busy, and keeps you away from the pool and the beach and whatnot. So you were doing a little vacation this week.
Just got back last night.
I was doing a little Maine last week, and hopefully a couple more days this week, and then we hunker down, as it were. Again, the Saratoga programming starts this coming Friday, live from the backstretch. A week from Friday, the meet actually starts. And again, we'll be live from the harness track on Thursday afternoon. So a lot of Saratoga action this week. But let's give some ideas for Sunday afternoon. We'll take a look at some of the races at Woodbine and Belmont. The 4th at Woodbine today, 7,500 to 8,000 maiden claimers, 3/4 of a mile. Sully, what did you see in race 4 at Woodbine?
Yeah, just a really nice race here, deep field, and usually you can get a price home here with these deep fields. I went 11, 4, 2, and 1. Number 11, I think you'll get a better price than 7 to 2. It's going to make the second start here. Does have the bug weight in this race. It's going up just a little bit in poundage from last time out, but ran a nice second, I thought. Took a lot of money that day, and going out for Norm McKnight. You know, we talk about it every week. He's phenomenal up in Canada. 34% winning percentage from Norm McKnight, and he's had a great 2018 from Oaklawn and other tracks he has raced, and he's winning 28% of his races in 2018. So the maiden claimer definitely is a nice fit for this horse. Took a lot of money last time out. Has a little bit of speed, should sit right off the pace, so it's pretty interesting from the outside stall. Just definitely does need a good break. They're going to cut back in the distance. They're going to drop a little bit in the maiden class, and I think it'll get a little bit better of a price than 7 to 2. Number 4 is Rare Gem, 8 to 1 on the morning line. And the horse that really has improved the last 2 starts from 4 and 5 back. And the horse has been at some pretty good prices. Last time out was sitting at a nice price. Came in 4th that day. Another horse dropping from the maiden 10 to the maiden 8. And it's going to make a second start here at the 6 furlong distance. Last time the horse ran at the 6 furlong distance was 2 starts back. I thought that was a pretty credible third and took a lot of money that day as well. So you're getting a pretty fair price at 8 to 1. Horse has been working phenomenal. There was a nice bullet work, and up at Woodbine by itself, the horse really has been working nicely. And then number 2, this is your big favorite. It's going to be tough to beat this horse. Probably the speed of the speed in here is Wave Dancer. Another Norm McKnight horse. I just think this horse has a little bit of second-itis. Should have broke the maiden 3 different times, and those were 3 of the last 4 starts, including last time out. Had the lead the entire way. Came in second by half a length, lost by a neck 4 races back. So horses 3 for 5 in the money here at the distance, also 6 for 9 lifetime. Definitely is the horse to beat, definitely the speed of the speed in this sprint race, but hopefully can get caught at the wire like it has been the last 4 starts. So get a little bit better of an exacta home, but definitely need to use Wave Dancer. I went 11-4, 2 and 1 in the 4th race.
And people should know, Wave Dancer, it'll be interesting to see what the odds are on Wave Dancer. And you look, and I couldn't agree more. This horse, 6 times second or third in 7 career starts. And you look at the numbers, I'm a buyer's guy, the horse has an edge, and you're thinking, well, maybe today's the day. But you look at the odds, the betting public clearly thought the last 4 starts were today's the day, because this horse has gone off as a short price and has gone off as a very short price in 2 of those last 4 and just has gotten caught. And so you do really get the feeling, and some horses are like that, they're pack animals, and it's like, after you, as they get to the wire. And it'll be interesting to see what Wave Dancer goes off at, and if once again he does get caught at the wire, she does get caught at the wire, because it has the definite look of that kind of a pattern.
Well, for betting, obviously you want the horse not to win, but it should be tough. It might be tough to beat, but I'm going to take a shot against Wave Dancer.
I don't blame you.
All right, so that's going to look at Belmont Park, the opener at Belmont Park. This is a maiden special weight. This is for 2-year-olds going at 6 furlongs.
4, 3, 5, and 6 for me. And I'll note, if you like the 2 winning factor, I took a look at that horse at 10 to 1, and I wouldn't argue with somebody taking a shot, particularly if the odds hold up or it goes up some ticks. They paid a lot of money this year at an April 2-year-old sale. Worked 21.1. The factor very good with first-time starters. But the dam has produced a lone sibling called Super Shenanigan, 5th, then 3rd, then 6th. So I don't think there's necessarily precociousness on the bottom side, although it's just a lone sibling. So again, and Bobby Barbero doesn't necessarily have him cranked up first time. So I took a long look at the winning factor, left it out of my mix. But again, you get the odds, and if you are looking in that direction, I'm not going to talk you out of it. I went 4, 3, 5, and 6, though. No Way Never. By No Nay Never, the nice Wesley Ward runner. I believe the dam was also trained by Wesley Ward, but it's Wesley Ward with, I think, some potential breeding in the area of being a very speedy horse, and Wesley can have him ready to go first time out, and particularly these turf sprints. And so I put No Way Never on top. Teachable Moment goes out for Chad Brown and Klarovich. I just always like those connections with win early type runners. More Than Ready on top. Did have a sibling called Awesome Times 2 that took 5 starts to win. and did win eventually when moved maiden special weight to maiden claiming. So again, the bottom side is a little bit dicey maybe as far as precociousness, but I like the connections and the sire on top, so we'll put Teachable Moment in. And Joyful Heart, 8-5 on the morning line. Pretty good looking debut effort. Experience counts, and given what we saw in the career debut, have to have that one in the mix also. So Belmont's race number 1, 4, 3, 5, and 6. Race number 7 at Monmouth, an allowance non-winners of 1 other than on that unique outside turf course up at Woodbine. This is a 1-turn 1.8 miles.
Yeah, if you're looking at the one sheet, I did a little changing from the one sheet. I went 6, 8, 9, and 4. Number 6 is Snippy, 4-1 on the morning line. You get Alan Garcia up for Roger Atfield. Roger Atfield, another very nice Woodbine meet, 25% winning percentage there. And a horse that looked great break the maiden last time out. I'm going to throw out the last race for this horse. This horse came in 5th by 3 1/4 that day. And really just from that stalking roll, you kind of knew you were in trouble just watching that race replay. So I think the 1 1/8 is not going to be an issue. The horse looked great at the 1 1/16. 2 of the 3 lifetime starts. You're getting a better price on this horse than you are with Mexican Heat, who I have in the mix, who I think is pretty beatable. Mexican Hat, excuse me, who I think could be a little beatable here. But again, this horse looked great last time out, going off for Roger Atfield. They're going to go to the turf course for the first time. And Roger's really nice at making that move, going from the synthetic to the turf. He's winning 14% of his races with a pretty nice ROI. And he's winning 16% of his allowance route races. So I think this is a nice play for a horse that should have won an allowance race last time out. They're going to try the turf course here for a horse that should get to the front. Should get to the lead in this race. Number 8 is Mexican Hat, 5-2. I think you're going to get a little bit less than a price. Catherine Day Phillips trains, another very nice meet for her. Horse that won last time out, was running in some stakes races overseas, came to Woodbine, and looked really impressive winning that race. Horse went off as a pretty fair price. I don't think you'll get that fair of a price this afternoon, but this horse was in a stalking roll last time out. Pretty slow, pretty even fractions throughout that 1 1/16. Another horse going to the turf course. Catherine Day Phillips doing that move, synthetic to the turf, winning 19% of her races. So this, it's going to be tough to beat this horse, especially this horse dropping from overseas stakes races. And then I went number 9. That's Cure Luck. 10-1 on the morning line for Mark Casse. Mark Casse's always sneaky with these big prices. He got one home again yesterday. Earlier in the card, I think it was 16-1. Ended up winning that race. This is a horse that could do the same. This horse is going to be more forwardly placed in a race with not too much other speed outside of the 2 and the 6. So this horse is going to be forwardly placed, likes to sit in a stalking roll. We saw that every start of this horse's career. The outside stall should not be an issue for this horse. This horse has braked well the 3 starts in the career. So 10-1 offers a really nice value in a race with not a ton of speed. The horse likes to sit off and press the speed, so taking the blinkers off should help the horse. Casse winning 24% of his races, making that move. So race number 7 at Woodbine. It went 6, 8, 9, and 4. Race number 4 at Belmont Park. This is a maiden special weight for 3-year-olds and up. They're going 1 mile on the grass.
6, 4, 7, and 8 for me. I put the first-time starter from the aforementioned Chad Brown and Klarovich on top, and Dagliadoro, a good sire of Wind Early type runners. Paid $300,000 for this horse as a yearling, September Keeneland of 2016. Workouts are okay, nice little bullet. And this is kind of notable too. Nice little bullet right up the street at Saratoga on June 26. A bullet best of 100. 100 horses went out and worked 4 furlongs on the training track that day at Saratoga. So that's notable to me. I looked up the bottom side. The dam, kind of mixed results there as far as the dam, but I just like the connections and the sire, and as I say, the workouts seem to stand out a little bit as well. So we'll put Strategic Outlook on top. Second slot, we'll look for another. I mentioned this yesterday on the OTB Live program. If you see Leanna Williford as the trainer, and yesterday there was a first-time starter, so you didn't see the previously trained by, which didn't even give you a hint. But do note, Bill Mott is on a suspension, just a week-long suspension, and again, the story there was he had a positive, I think it was a couple of years ago, which he fought, and he wanted a split sample, and it turned out there wasn't enough for him to get a split sample, and so he could have independently done the testing. That led to a change in the rules, actually, but subsequently the case has gone on, and just recently Bill Mott said, and kind of came to a compromise with the authorities for a shortened suspension, so I'll take my suspension and come back at Saratoga. But Leanna Williford is his assistant. So if you see that over the next few days, that is the situation there. So coming out of the Mott barn, seemed like the last race just indicated this horse, after 4 career starts, has kind of figured things out and should be solid this afternoon. An overnight success in the 3rd spot. A couple of nice races on the turf this season, at least number-wise. They stack up pretty well with this bunch. But also, you have to pay strict attention to the trainer here. It's Jason Service, who wear your asbestos gloves if you shake his hand, because he is on fire. And so, again, overnight success being trained by Jason Service clearly has to be paid attention to. In the 4th at Belmont, 6, 4, 7, and 8. 8th race at Woodbine. We'll see where Sully goes here, if he goes the obvious way or maybe has a clever idea. I don't know whether this is a gimme for Pink Lloyd. Kingsport is a pretty nice runner, and San Nicola Thunder also a bona fide kind of sprinter of talent, but it's going to be interesting to watch to see if Pink Lloyd can keep the incredible win streak alive. 1-9 on the morning line, and I'm sure Pink Lloyd is the reason you picked this race. Obviously, giving out a 1-9 shot is nothing. Everybody is going to be on board. But nice little stake up at Woodbine, the Shepperton, 6.5 furlongs, $100,000 up for grabs, and as I say, it's more of a story than anything, just to see what Pink Lloyd does.
Right, it definitely is. I just wanted to highlight that, and so you could watch Pink Lloyd again. He's won. Pink Lloyd has won 11 races in a row, and they're all stakes races. So I just wanted to point that out. The 8th race at Woodbine today, definitely give that a watch. This horse is unbelievable, and it's going to be tough to beat the horse. I bet everyone's going to single him in your exotics or in your multiples. Excuse me. It's going to be very tough to beat this horse. And as Seth said, no one likes to give out a 1-9. I just wanted to highlight the race and just, if you have not seen this horse run, definitely pay attention to the 8th race at Woodbine this afternoon. This horse is absolutely unbelievable. 14 for 16 at Woodbine, wins-wise, 15 to 16 lifetime at Woodbine. So this, and the last time this horse lost was November of 2016, and that was by a length. So since then, 11 wins in a row for Pink Lloyd. But, Seth already pointed to it. Kingsport's a very interesting horse I have in the mix as well. This horse loves the Woodbine surface. This horse loves sprinting. Horse was on the rail last time out. I thought it was a pretty nice 4th behind a nice field. Took a lot of money that day. You're going to get an okay price on this horse with all the money going to Pink Lloyd. 2 for 2 at the distance with Patrick Husbands. This horse will come late. Pink Lloyd will be on the lead, so maybe it can make it interesting down the stretch. Maybe try to get the Pink Lloyd. This horse is a closer, so we'll see how this goes for Patrick Husbands aboard from the rail. And as I said, the horse has run extremely well from the rail, including 3 starts back, a 96 buyer in the Sir Barton at Woodbine. So that could be an interesting horse at a little bit of price to make it interesting for Pink Lloyd, who will get to the lead. Also, number 4. It's going to get to the lead as well, so maybe, again, could set up the race for Kingsport, try to beat Pink Lloyd there. Just give a little ideas. If you're trying to beat the 1-9 shot, obviously betting-wise, you would love to beat a 1-9, make a little bit more money. But in this case, make a lot more money if you beat the 1-9 in your multiples. So I just wanted to highlight the race about Pink Lloyd. So I think it's going to be tough to beat Pink Lloyd. I think the 4 and the 1 are nice plays underneath. I don't think you're going to get 15-1 on the 1 horse, but hopefully you do if you're a big exacta player. So again, I think it's going to be tough to beat Pink Lloyd. I think 4 and 1 are safe plays underneath.
I'll toss out there an idea as well, because the 20-cent increment, and I agree with you, it goes through Pink Lloyd, and the race is just going to be fun. This is one of those, you root for Pink Lloyd, great story. But from a betting perspective, if you wanted to play around with a pick 3, I'm going to do that. You can go 4x4x4 and just pick your races on either side. I think there's rolling pick threes all day long. So you can start a pick three here or have it in the middle. Or so look at the other races. But you go 4x4x4 at the 20-cent increment. That's a $12 and change bet.
Yeah.
And I think if Pink Lloyd gets beaten, even the pick three, I think will be okay for 20 cents. I mean, you're not going to retire on it, but I think it'll be okay. I'm going to use the 1, 2, 4, and 9 in here. Just on a if something fluky happens, pick three. My top pick would be Pink Lloyd. He has the edge, and again, great story there. But again, I'm going to 1, 2, 4, 9. Just if something crazy happens, do a little pick three. I haven't decided. I still have to decide which direction I'm going with my other two races. Make this the middle or the beginning or the ending leg. But you play around like that. Maybe a little something crazy happens, and you wind up with an okay result. Again,
Absolutely.
for $12.
Yeah, it's just a really cool story for Pink Lloyd. If you haven't seen the horse run, race number 8 this afternoon at Woodbine. The horse is unbelievable. Going to try to win 12 stakes races in a row. So Seth's going to look at race number 7 at Belmont Park. That is the River Memories. This is for fillies and mares. 1.5 miles on the turf course.
5, 7, 1, and 2. I put Estrachada on top. Moves into the barn of Robertino Diodoro off some nice improving numbers over the last 3 starts. Now, those were November, January, and May, so I'm not necessarily saying that's showing a form cycle, because there were some layoffs in there that I think make you kind of not be able to count on the form necessarily. But had been out in Southern California last November and in January, and then the May start was right here at Belmont. Now moves into the barn of Robertino Diodoro. And again, off that May number in particular, I think this horse is solid in here this afternoon. Second slot, we'll look at Violet Blue. Goes out for Jimmy Toner. Seasonal debut was a nice win with a good solid number that was a lifetime best. And I think off of that, you have to think that as a 4-year-old, this horse is improved. And Somersault in the 3rd spot. A couple starts back, nice win in a stake down at Gulfstream. Sheepshead Bay ran 7th, but not a badly beaten 7th that day. I think we'll be competitive this afternoon with this group, particularly with a little bullet workout in tow. In the 7th at Belmont today, the River Memories, 5, 7, 1, and 2. All right, want to thank our friends at Woodbine for their sponsorship of this edition of Racing Across America. Woodbine, pick, bet, and cheer on great racing north of the border. Also, I want to thank all of you for tuning in and remind you that the Saratoga programming starts next Friday. There will be no OTB Live this afternoon, and really the next time you will see us will be up at Saratoga, but at the harness track on Thursday. Sully and I will be there live with some cut-ins throughout the afternoon. Also, a $100 bankroll for your chance to participate. Swing by CapitalOTB.com for more information. That's Thursday. Friday morning, we're live on the backstretch across the street at the Thoroughbred track, kicking off our season-long backstretch programming. Always a lot of fun with the biggest names in horse racing, just a golf cart ride away. It's going to be another great season up there. Next Saturday, the Road to Vegas contest continues. More information on how you can participate at the website. And again, looking out a week and a half or so, Del Mar kicks off on the 18th, Wednesday the 18th, and Saratoga racing opens up Friday, July 20th, kicking off just another fabulous meet for those of us up here in upstate New York. Should be a lot of fun with, again, the programming starting a week earlier, next Friday the 13th. I said yesterday, starting on Friday the 13th is a bad omen. I'm looking at it as a good omen.
Yeah, it has to be. It definitely has to be. Anytime you're doing live from Saratoga, it's always
That's right. Yeah, good point. How can it be bad luck if you're live at Saratoga? So Friday the 13th, we will kick off that morning programming live from the backstretch. So mark that down on your calendar. All right. Sully and I are going to wrap things up for this Sunday morning. Don't forget, though, next Thursday afternoon, we'll be live from Saratoga Harness. Listen here on the network as we have cut-ins, or folks can stop in and say hello at the harness track on Thursday afternoon.
Absolutely, and that's, they have their $1 hot dogs, $1 PPR.
That's right, they have the Thursday special.
It's definitely a good time up there. A lot of people, as you said hi to us last time, so looking forward to that again.
All right, Sully, good luck this afternoon.
Good luck to you.
And good luck to all of you. We'll see you Thursday, live from Saratoga Harness. In the meantime, cash a lot of tickets. We'll see you next time.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.